Hey folks, what's up? What's up? This is Lauren, the Story Brand Strategist. This is for the acolytes of storytelling. So earlier I posted this thing, and most of you clicked on this, and I don't know what the hell's going on with this right here. I got access to this new software as a trial. Well, not a trial. Well, a trial, and they just released the software. Like it's the first time they've released it, and so I was trying to give it a go. So I made a quiz and stuff, and I was going to go over it with you guys and see if it was working, because why not? You're in the group, you could be my lab rats too. And I knew there was trouble when I started seeing this. Even though when I went inside the quiz, I had put things here, so this should not have shown up. So most of you probably pressed this big button, and you got something that looked a little bit like, what's up, like this. This is when it really should have been, if you click on the direct link here, looks a little something like a very big ass lawsuit right here. This is what this is supposed to look like, a very big ass lawsuit. Anyway, which type of business are you, Rebel or Empire? Take the quiz to find out, right? So this is the quiz I created today. Star Wars stuff. Why? Because I'm a Star Wars fan, and there's a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but there are some videos of me wearing Star Wars shirts. I reference Star Wars a lot. And there is a reason why I do so, and it's part of my brand, and it's part of how I teach you. Just think, the name the name of this group is the Acolytes of Storytelling. Acolytes, where could that come from? Now, if I would have called it the Padawans of Storytelling, you might have gotten, oh, Star Wars. But the Acolytes of Storytelling, only folks who are really into Star Wars and read some of the books in the recent canon would understand. When I say acolytes, I probably am referring to someone on the dark side of things. You either just quick, so Jedi and Sith, when they have an apprentice, they're called acolytes, or their apprentices. Usually you don't really hear the word acolytes used, but if you read the books in canon and some of the old history of that world created, they called these folks acolytes. And so there's a group called Acolytes of the Beyond and such and such. So I like the name Acolytes. It's also referencing a guy whose YouTube videos I watch, who talks a lot about Star Wars. And thanks to Urban Acolyte, I know a lot more about Star Wars than I've ever have. So it's part of my brand. Like, if I'm calling myself the Story Brand Strategist, I can come off very professional, or I can have a lot of fun with it. So for me, I chose to have fun with it because there are just certain things that I typically like. So I like Star Wars. I like fiction. I like sort of fantasy, and I guess I could say I like a little bit of space opera. I've read a few books that what they call space operas, meaning they're like ongoing sort of space adventures type books in the last couple of years. And I just like doing that kind of stuff. I like reading that kind of stuff. It kind of shows the nerd side of me. So it has become a part of my brand. So when you think of me as a story brand strategist, you should also think of this as someone who really is into her story stuff, not just in regards of what companies do, but also in regards that, in general, she either likes to read or likes to just like stories in general. So it has become a part of how I decided to represent myself by including and naming things after things that I like or have an interest in. So I have an interest in Star Wars. I have an interest in Disney as a company. I have an interest in how Star Wars is a company. I have an interest in world building, which is a term that you hear a lot in fiction. Think of Game of Thrones and the world building that George R.R. Martin has done, so that we have all these different places that if you're watching Game of Thrones you would know about. And so I have a deep interest in all of these things. So when I'm doing my stuff for my own personal branding, how I present myself to you, how I present myself to others, I try to put a little bit of that out. There are some videos in which I am wearing a Yankee hat. Now, I happen to live in the Bronx, and the Yankees their hometown is in New York City, yeah, but specifically this Yankee Stadium is in the Bronx. That's why they're called the Bronx Bombers. And they're probably one of the most famous, biggest brands in sports history. 26 times, they 26 or 27 times they have won the World Series. So they're a very highly decorated team and probably one of the richest baseball teams out there currently. So I wear that hat. It only not only represents New York City, it represents the Bronx. It represents a team that's highly branded. Lots of very famous celebrities, mostly rappers, wear Yankee hats, right? Jay-Z is one of them, wearing the Yankee hat with the Yankee sign, which is made up of the N and the Y of New York State, right? So there's a lot of branding going on. The story of this story team with this interesting history. Um, the story of that brand in the borough it's in. There's a lot of stuff going on when you look at things like the Yankees. A very highly decorated sports franchise. So if you were in Boston, most likely you'll be wearing a Boston Red Sox hat, and they have a very interesting history, and especially with the New York Yankees, that sports rivalry that comes up every year when we have a series at Boston or Boston is in New York. So I wear things like sometimes in my videos like a Yankee hat, and I'll wear a shirt that might be a Star Wars shirt, or other times I've worn a different type of shirt that was representative of a game called Assassin's Creed. Not one that I play often, but just representing that this is what I'm about, right? So I'm very conscious. Now, other times you'll see videos of me. I'm wearing maybe a regular shirt, or a blouse or whatever. But most times you will see me wearing something that kind of represents offhand what I'm about. If I'm not wearing a all black shirt or a regular shirt, most times you will see me in those types of things. Like I'm recording this, I am in one of my Star Wars shirts, which I probably shouldn't be wearing until next week when I'm at a Star Wars celebration. But it's just representing who I am as a brand of being a story brand strategist and as a company. So that's something you're going to want to think about when you're figuring out how you're going to be using story, right? If you're taking pictures, if you're going to be the face of your brand, what is that going to look like and how you're going to story tell? So that's a piece of it. Now, usually I don't go deep into branding when it comes into selling. Usually I don't. I'm either talking about one or the other, even though the two should be closely married together. So for your bonus year, I've talked a lot about branding and sort of how I present myself and how I fit into that context. But in terms of what's going on with this quiz, so what type of business are you? Now, I explained the concept of, there are three types of businesses, but for the simplicity of this quiz, I said there are two. You're either business empire, business rebel, and that's pretty much true. So this is the symbol of the empire on this side, and this is the symbol of the rebels in Star Wars. Anybody who knows Star Wars knows that this is what it is, at least if you paid attention to Star Wars. Yeah, so you click next here, and a question pops up. So this is working good. And it says, are you... Oh, they didn't update. Damn. You know what? This is the old one, but that's okay. So this question is supposed to pop up, and it's asking whoever's going to watch, who's ever going to be taking this quiz, are you one of the dominant forces in your market? And I wrote something like, everyone knows who you are in your niche, and your competitors are gunning for you. You either say yes or you say no. If I were to say no, I am not. No one knows who I am. How much revenue does your business make a month? So I gave some examples. And, you're making this much, that much. You may somewhere in here, somewhere in here. And let's do this for simplicity. Let's say I'm making this. If I was someone looking at this quiz, it's asking me for, yes, that wasn't it. What am I doing here? Writing one of my dummy emails. Clicking next. Very good. Okay, so this part of the quiz is working. You are one with the rebels, almost working. And this is a picture of rebels. Now, like I said, this quiz could possibly be a lawsuit, folks. Who knows? I've done, which is a quick thing about when you're using images, just FYI. Careful when you use images and make sure either you own them or that they are or have been tagged for reuse and modification, because depending on how popular your stuff is, or if you just happen to be unlucky enough to get caught, people can go to their lawyers and have them write you a very interesting letter called a cease and desist. And most of the time what they do is they'll go to your web host and then they'll send them the letter and then they'll shut your stuff down and you won't have a damn clue why. YouTube is usually pretty good. Like when you put your stuff up and using somebody else's music, they shut your shit down real quick because YouTube doesn't want to be sued, and then they'll send you the letter or you'll see it on the post and then you get to fight with YouTube. But with all things, be careful. I have made sure that these images were tagged for reuse and modification. In this case, I'm just using it for this quiz. So if you don't know the rebel sign, you will know these jumpsuits. These are the jumpsuits of the fighter pilots who are on the rebellion side. So this picture works for me. And then I wrote my little blurb on what this means if you land here. And that is the end of the quiz. This is the outcome. And then eventually when I go into my quiz software, which is going to be, yeah, this is the software that I'm testing out. I'm trying to test out. Yeah. But that is called a outcome-based quiz. And I tried to make it simple, because when you're doing all the logic crap with your quizzes, you can really screw yourself up quickly. Screw yourself up. Now I'm fixing things. Well, you guys get to see all this. Me fixing things and not knowing what the hell I'm doing on this new software, which I intend to break. So hopefully this is working. Let's see, save it. Okay, so alright, we're gonna do this real quick just for my nope, we don't know. I picked this the last time. I said I don't know what putting random emails that I know. Well, there we go, it fixed it. Good. So this is the quiz. So I might actually use this quiz. I gotta check one of these images to make sure I won't get sued, but I might use one of these quiz. So what can you learn from this? So this is a quiz that's either saying, hey, you're either on one side or the other. Now, if I redid this quiz and answered, hey, I'm known in my market, and then if I'm known in my market very well, like people know who I am, and then I picked an income that was higher than the first two, I should land on the Empire side, and there is a stock photo of Vader and behind him are stormtroopers, so that represents the Empire. People know Vader enough; they know the stormtrooper helmet enough to know that that's Empire. And of course, at the top it says you are one with the rebels. The other one says you are one with the Empire, and then this means that you, and then I give a little description of what that means for that person. So, what does this have to do with you in story selling? This quiz is going to aid and embed me in my story selling process, right? Because I am very much a marketer and I'm very much copywriter in certain aspects, especially email is my baby. So just like I said, I think later on this week I'm going to go through either explain the email, explain something about email story selling. I need people on my list, right? So having quizzes, people like taking quizzes, and people like Star Wars, ironically. So having a quiz that I somehow combine Star Wars and business together in a way that people are going to be curious as, hey, am I Empire or am I a rebel? Now, for one of you, I've told you that you are a rebel, right? Because everyone knows what a rebel is. They have an association with Star Wars, so it worked. So this is what I'm going to do in a quiz that I am going to actually pay to push traffic to and see how well it does. Now, hopefully it does well enough and I get a bunch of email signups. But this is me in the beginning of the process, which is to get something that's going to attract people. So now when people go through the quiz, they're like, okay, I'm a rebel, or great, I'm an empire. My business is kind of like an empire. Now the question is, how do I tell my story if my business is kind of like in this rebellion phase, or we're kind of like a rebel? What does that mean for our story? What does it mean if I happen to be one of the dominant sort of forces in my market, right? What does this mean? How do I need to sell myself? How do I need to sell my products in a way? How can I do it in a way that's going to attract more customers, especially if I'm an empire? That means there are rebels out there trying to take my business. So, and then I might have to deal with other empires, which is which I believe I wrote in one of the descriptions. For the opposite of this, which is the empire, right? So how do I tell the story? How do I market itself? And that's where I come in as a story brand strategist and say, hey, if you're this, you need to start thinking of yourself like that. And this is how you would use story as a way to attract people to you. And this is how you use your positioning to help you, right? Versus your rebel. This is how you use your positioning to help you. You're this and that and the other. And these are just a couple of things. So now it's put me in a position where people know who they are now. They know their symptoms, and now they're looking to me for guidance. So that puts me in a really nice position, right? A little bit more of an advisory position that, hey, if there are two types of businesses and you fit in this one or you fit in that one, each one is different and unique, and they have these things that have to be done differently, both of them, to make them attractive. Now, this is how you use story to do that. So if I come up with that positioning, this quiz has helped me make my job easier, right? And this would be more of a marketing sort of function that's going to make my selling easier of being in a group where people are paying me for kind of this type of advice that you guys are getting here for free as part of Free Ship Friday promotion that Dan did about a week or so ago, right? So this is how I get to introduce myself and engage with people who may not know me. So I'm pushing cold traffic to a quiz that's going to be something like this. Is something you should do? Well, if you don't have a business, you maybe should think about creating the business and making sure that is actually existent. Is there someone else in here who can use that? Yeah, you could if you already have a business and you understand that you have a big idea. So I'm able to do this with you guys and do this with other people in terms of your empire, your rebel. And for you guys, I said you're either Old Republic, which is something I'll go into later for this group. Why? Because this is the one thing about story selling you guys need to understand. You really need to know the marketing side of things in terms of knowing who your audience is, because that is going to determine how the world you sell, what stories you're going to use, and how you story sell people to your position. That's going to determine a lot. So I'm not going to get big in marketing. I'm going to stay as much as possible in selling. But the job of marketing, in my view, has always been to help create the product, the idea for the product, or get the idea from a particular audience that has the ability and willingness to pay for a solution to a problem or to make their lives easier. And the job of marketing is to make the job of salespeople a hell of a lot easier, right? Because marketing has to do sometimes marketing is involved in the creation of the product service. And then it's involved in the promoting of the service. And it's supposed to help sales make more sales, right? Job marketing is to make sales easier, and help sales make more sales. So on the selling side, if you really want to make your job easier, just make sure your marketing for your business is on point. I can not emphasize that enough. Just make sure that however you're marketing your business, make sure it's on point. Because if it's not, and you're trying to sell people, you will very easily fall into the hard sell. I try to avoid hard selling at all times. Why? Because most people don't like it. Most people don't like to be hard sold. Now, there's times where you will hard sell, but most of the time, you probably won't need to. Hard selling is like trying to get a decision, especially if it's like a time thing. Let's say you're a car salesman, and like this deal is ending in a few hours, and it's not a bullshit. It's really literally ending in a few hours. And maybe you do a hard sell. Now, like in terms of email, when I was doing a Black Friday promotion last year, I started hard selling people towards the end because at a certain time I was cutting the promotion off and I had a timer on the coupon, and once that time expired, it was going to go back to its original price. Right? So I was like, hey, if you need this, this is now this time because this price is not going back. So that's the time to hard sell. In the beginning, though, you don't necessarily have to hard sell if you do things correctly. So make sure your marketing is on point. It will make the job of selling so much easier. Just like when people take this quiz and they get on my list, talking to them and selling to them is going to be so much easier because the marketing has already begun to do its thing. It's already say, okay, your business, there's a type of business you are. You're either one or the other. And if you can figure out which type of business you are, you'll be able to make more money and tell a story in a way that's going to attract more qualified buyers to you who are going to become customers. So that's attractive to most businesses. That might even be attractive if you listen to this. So that right there, that promotion is ideally, if it works, will help me sell a lot easier without me having to go into the hard sell unless I have a promotion that I'm promoting, which is not quite at this moment. So this is going to contribute in helping me story sell, because when I talk to these people, I can go into Star Wars. Now, ironically, next week is a Star Wars convention that I'm going to. So I can talk more about Star Wars and Vader or the Empire versus the Rebels and what's going on with the Rebels and things like that. I can talk about these things, and everyone who took this quiz is familiar with Star Wars and understands that either Empire or the Rebel. So when I start talking about how the Empire used to conquer planets, which is something that unless you read Star Wars canon, most people don't realize. Like unless you saw Rogue One, you saw everyone in the room and like kind of feeling oppressed and stuff like that, you really wouldn't know that because we don't see the Empire really going onto planets and taking things over. We really don't see that in the movies too much, except maybe we got a glimpse of it in Rogue One. But someone doesn't need to be a Star Wars head. Like, if I were to told business randomly that, oh, by the way, the Empire did this, it would sound crazy. It wouldn't work. I wouldn't be able to sell them on that. But if my quiz here does its job, my quiz is going to help sell people on your Empire, your Star Wars Empire, Vader, Emperor, Stormtroopers, control, power, dominance. That's selling people on the concept of this is who you are as a business. Now you need to learn how to wield that power to attract more people to you. So instead of going into a long, arduous conversation, this quiz is already going to help sell people and put them in a place that it's going to be easy for me to convince them that, hey, I'm the person you need to listen to, right? Just like someone who winds up finding that they're a rebel, like this here, you're a business rebel. When I start talking about what happens during the rebellion, when I start maybe mentioning something that happened in a Star Wars book in regards to the rebels or in Rogue One in regards to the rebels, they're already sold on it because of this quiz. It's already moved them from one position to another because I'm sparking an interest with the questions I'm asking. Are you a business empire or are you a business rebel? Knowing there's going to be a Facebook ad attached, but I'm just going over some things that might be in that ad copy because people want to know what type they are, because the type they are is going to affect the way they need to sell to people, how they need to present themselves. So this quiz is already this ad and quiz that's going to be combined is already going to sell people in a position, put them in a position for me to sell them a little closer. But now I'm not doing any hard selling. I'm doing a soft sell. I'm like, hey, yeah, and by the way, XYZ. So now they come to me. So if I give them an offer like, hey, $30 to join Acolytes of Story Selling a month, they're most likely going to jump on the offer because I've already started selling them in the beginning by giving an ad, and I haven't written the ad yet. Focus on messing with this crazy ass software to get the quiz. So here's the quiz. And that's what, that's just the inside look of what I'll be doing in the next few days. And hopefully it will be successful. There's no guarantees, but hopefully I'll get some success out of this. But this is already going to help me sell. Right now, that's why I want you guys to go through the quiz and take it. Because this is already going to help people sell. This is already given, I mean, and see, I wish Richard, that's his name, Richard. So, like, when I did that video and I told Richard, like, hey, you're a business rebel, like, your business, you're really guys on the rebellion side of things, you guys are rebels in your business. He was happy, his significant other was very happy, or she said she was going to quit. And he said it gave them ideas already, that it's already, just knowing that, just me confirming that, hey, you guys are business rebels, has already lifted something off of his shoulders, lifted something off. There was obstacles in their way in their business, and this was one of the obstacles. And because I said, no, you guys are business rebels, it's like it opened the light bulb, opened the light, so it's already helped them. So if I did that in the video, if someone's taking this quiz and they understand that, hey, I'm a business rebel or I'm a business empire, that's already helping them. So this is a very interesting kind of way to sell. So a lot of folks, I don't think I've met too many marketers who've gone this deep on this. I don't think I've met too many salesmen who've gone this deep on this. And since I started off in sales and I fell in love with marketing, I'm giving you a little bit both of what's going on here. The psychological stuff that's going on in your mind. If you're going to learn how to story sell, you kind of have to start to understand the people who you're going to be selling to, right? So I'm going after businesses that are struggling with making more money. Want to make more money. There could be multiple problems. Either their company is really, really small and they don't know how to leverage what they already have to get what they want, which is more customers, more presence, more prestige, and that's what story branding is about. Or they are powerful in their niche, but now maybe they made a mistake and they move so fast in their industry, and they have all these other companies popping up, or things are happening. They're not, for some reason, not growing their business as much, and maybe they want to get a little bit more known, but they're not realizing they already have a lot of leverage and power, or maybe they need to rebrand themselves because they have another product. So I'm still useful to them because guess what? I know how to story sell and I know how to story brand. And that empire may need to be rebranded a bit for it to succeed. Maybe they're going after a new niche or whatever the case may be. So this quiz is already helping people to figure out who they are. So now they can start thinking, okay, what does it mean to be an empire? What are all these things I'm having trouble with? Versus rebels and their issues that they would have trouble with. So already the selling process has already begun by people taking this quiz at the end of it. And I have designed it that way so that when I go after them, I can prescribe what a rebel business would need versus what an empire business would need, or what things they need to focus on, right? So now I can prescribe something very specific to folks if I were to continue to build this out, right? But I've already sold people on me. Once they got this outcome, Rebel, Empire, I've already sold them on me. That's the beauty of it all. And just to show you what it would look like, I don't know what it, okay, to show you what it would look like. There we go. Here's the empire. Rebel, business empire. See, Vader, this is actually a stock photo because I think this isn't a real Vader in costume. This is like a toy. And they put toys and they blanked it out or something. But I'm just saying, this is in case some IP lawyer catches this. I'm trying to protect myself, folks. But yeah, this is what I did here. So empire or rebel, doesn't really matter to me because I know how to help both. I do. I know how to help both. So it doesn't really matter what the business is to me. I'm good, but it matters to the business what they are. So now they can ask a different type of question, or maybe I've already helped them and this quiz has already helped folks. So this is what I will be promoting, just to give you an inside look of what my new sales funnel is going to be very, very, very shortly. And the purpose of this will be dumping more people into this group who will be paying me. So that's the purpose of this quiz. So you guys get to see me do all this stuff. Isn't it cool? I think sometimes the best way to teach people is to show them, for folks to see over the shoulder. But this is what's going on right here. Empire Rebel. So that's why I say look, go through the quiz and take a look at what happened. Even though the software is acting nutso. Remember, this is a new software. First time I'm using it. I was asked to test this software out. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to use it in the quiz. Even though I'm very unhappy with the damn meta tags, because that's going to really screw up my Facebook ads. Meaning I might have to redo this quiz and have it come up as a pop-up but hosted on my website to avoid this crap. So yeah, it's one of those situations. But that's okay, because and once that gets running, if it goes well, this should be a really good lead generation tool. And it's already helping me sell without me having to say, hey, for $30 you can do this. Which is interesting because I can actually add that to this, but that's a little bit more complex. And I don't want to scare people at this point, because this is really cold traffic. I could make up my ad spend that way. Don't want to do it as of now because I'm testing out this new software. And the less gizmos and gadgets I got connected to it, the better, because last thing I would need is connect a pay form to this for something else and the damn thing shuts down. So this is where I will be spending some time and walking you guys through it. So I just want you to, get a essence that, hey, story selling, it's not just, hey, here's the email and buy this, but it's also the success of your selling has to do with the actions that are taken before. How you market, how you're presenting yourself, who you're going after, and also the things that you do that help you sell, right? So this like this, I am designing this to help me sell, because this is already selling people. Because before you get into somebody's wallet, you got to understand their mindset. You have to persuade them into certain places. Now, this is going to go into some like copy stuff, into where's your market. And if I can find the graph that I was given, I'll show you guys. I don't know if I can find it, because it's actually not my graph. I didn't create it. It's a graph that I got when I first officially started learning how to copyright. And it's a really cool graph, and it's not mine. So if I can find it, I will share it in a group. But it's actually part of another program, not mine, but is one that I learned from. But I like the graphic, because that's copywriters are salespeople in print. We write sales letters, right? So if I can find that graphic, I will use it, or at least try to see if I can get permission to borrow that graph. I don't know. I will have to ask for that, because I didn't create that graph. That was somebody else's genius in time in web design who did that. But if I could find it, I'll definitely put it in a group, and I'll go into explaining what it actually means. But this is going to help me sell my positioning, that I know what I'm talking about, have a little fun. It's something that we know. It makes people feel good that they're the empire. It makes people feel great that they're a rebel. And I'm going to have a lot of fun with the folks who go through this and wind up on my email list. I know that. But for you, this is for you guys to start taking ideas. Whatever your business is, the ideas that you can gain from this. Like, I'm playing with Star Wars stuff, which you should be careful. Once again, I do not own this intellectual property, but I've got stock photos from it. But still, in all, be very careful. But whatever it is your brand is going to be, whether it is gin and whiskey, whether it is you sell services, or you do coaching, whatever it is you do, figure out in terms of who your customer is, who you should know, what problem specifically are you going to help them with? What is your thing about that you want them to buy into? And try to figure out what the big idea overall, what that thing is, because that's what you got to sell, folks. You got to move people. You have to place people in a position to make you successful. And story is a way of doing that, but also you need story to help you sell people into their wallets. But if you position them in the wrong way, it will not work, right? So like I explained before, like I know a lot about Star Wars. If I start going off on my nerd bent and talking to these folks about Star Wars, even though that I know Disney very well as a company, I know Lucasfilms very well as a company, and explaining stuff to people that most people don't pay attention to until they're in grad school taking an MBA like I did, would probably bore these people to death, and they would probably shut their minds off. But if I'm bringing in more of this part of it and not going so nerdy on the business side or so nerdy on the fiction side of things, and I can find a balance to put them in the right positioning, then guess what? When I'm going for the kill later on, it's not a hard sell. They just move right along the way. And a lot of times if I do it really well, people will ask me, hey, is there a way I can pay for your time, which has happened many times before. So there's things that you can do. I just wanted to kind of explain what this was about for your folks, to give y'all something to chew on until the next time, which I think I'll be breaking down the email. And which actually I'm going to break down the email that I posted on my personal profile. But I think I'll do that in another, like towards the weekend. And I'll put that up for you folks. All right. So any comments, post them below wherever this video is going to be posted in the group. And I hope you have a nice night.